When first introduced to a project, we should ask, what kind of project is it? This will help to define the correct management approach needed to best deal with the project. There is little point in assembling a team of experts who are expecting to design some technology when we don't yet know what technology may be needed to deliver the project, because the project purpose or requirements are not yet agreed. There are two criteria that help to define the type of project. The first is, do we know what the project needs to deliver? This means that the project requirements and scope must be clearly defined and agreed by stakeholders so that the task is familiar to us. Management can then proceed to design and develop the solution that will deliver the defined benefit. If the task is unfamiliar, then this suggests that the project definition is unclear or cannot be agreed by all stakeholders. In this case, the management focus will be on clarifying and agreeing project requirements in order to define the project purpose and objectives. The second criterion concerns the setting or solution of the project. This means that we are familiar with or have the ability to solve the challenge set by the project objectives. We know how to do the work needed to complete the project. If we do not have this ability or are unfamiliar with the knowledge and/or skills needed to do the work, then management needs to assist the project team to identify and acquire this knowledge and skill. The most straightforward approach for a project is that we have both a clear definition of the project and the knowledge and skill needed to deliver the project. Obeng calls this type of project paint by numbers, after the artistic activity where an outline picture is provided with the correct colors indicated by number codes within the outlines. This allows anyone with basic artistic skills to undertake a competently produced picture. The output is clearly defined, and we have sufficient skills needed to complete it successfully. This type of project is most like an operational activity because there is minimal uncertainty and limited risk. Management of this type of project is straightforward and can possibly be allocated to a novice project manager. If we don't have the required skill needed to deliver a project, then a different type of project is called a quest type project. Though the goal of the project is clear, the way that the project can be completed is unfamiliar. This might be due to the need for new technology, setting a construction project in a different landscape, or working with an unfamiliar project team. Examples of quests can be found as the baseline plot for many stories, including some popular movies such as Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings. In Lord of the Rings, the quest involves disposing of the ring. In the original Star Wars trilogy, the quest is initially to save the princess and then to defeat the Empire. At the start, the heroes in the movies don't yet know how they will achieve their goals. If the project definition is clear and agreed, but the way these objectives can be achieved is unclear, then we have a quest-type projects. Many projects are quest-type projects, and in those cases, management must focus on identifying ways to solve problems that we will find embedded in the project. If the project goals are unclear or cannot be agreed, though we're familiar with the skills needed to deliver the project, then this project type is making a movie. Though I've referred to some movie stories as examples for quest-type projects, the meaning here is different. Here we refer to the process and method of writing, filming and producing a movie rather than the content of the storyline. This is a more creative type of project where the focus is on finding an outcome that will deliver benefits to the organization. In this case, management will use the expertise available to assist stakeholders to move towards agreement about what the project must achieve. The fourth type of project is possibly the most difficult type of project to manage. It suggests that both the task and setting are unfamiliar. In other words, the goal is unclear and we don't have the expertise needed to complete the project. Obeng refers to this type of project as lost in the fog. We cannot see where we are going and also are unable to get there. Many projects start as this type. Uncertainty and risk are high, though this can mean that there are many opportunities. It is a significant challenge to management, and a helpful approach is to develop the project requirements and then establish the objectives, converting the project type into a quest type project. Looking in more detail at two of these project types reveals the structure of different management approaches needed. For a quest type project, management involves identification of different approaches to solving each problem, and then trying out different solutions, depending on the best approach, and then moving on. These activities are very different to those required for a movie type project. Here, the approach is to design possibilities that can lead to agreement about project requirements through discussion and conversations with stakeholders. Once there is sufficient agreement, management can investigate how these requirements can be achieved. The management approach for these two projects is very different. Therefore, it is important to quickly identify the type of project you have. So far, I've used Obeng's terminology because it provides labels that are descriptive of the type of project that we have. This is helpful as an introduction. Obeng's model is based upon J. Rodney Turner's work. I now want to develop the model further by redefining the two axes. Regarding familiarity with task, I now redefine this as the notion of ambiguity, or a number of different ways to define a situation or outcome. This suggests that different stakeholders can have different views or perspectives about a project. If the stakeholders are in agreement with similar perspectives, then ambiguity is low. If there are many different perspectives held by different stakeholders, that means there is a lack of agreement and ambiguity is high. Redefining the setting axis as uncertainty suggests that low uncertainty means we are familiar with the setting and have the expertise required to complete the project. High uncertainty means the opposite, that the project team does not have the knowledge and skills needed. Another way of looking at uncertainty is as a way to identify and acquire the data required. If we don't have the necessary data, then there is increased risk and uncertainty. So, looking at each project type, the paint by number quadrant draws on administration-based management methods. This suggests a routine or familiar management approach with low risk, an operational environment. Alternatively, a quest-type project draws on a management approach that defines and measures performance of the project team in achieving the project objectives. As a project is defined in terms of cost and timescale, as well as achievement of its objectives, performance must be managed by balancing all three of these parameters. For making a movie-type project, the management approach needs to consider how stakeholders will be involved in the project and determine how to navigate through the opinions and demands of often senior players. This requires management expertise to include ways to deal with power-based relationships, such as negotiation and effective stakeholder management. In contrast, Lost in the Fog type projects suggest a learning approach is needed to unpick the unclear nature of both the statement of the problem and how a solution can be achieved. A learning approach helps to deal with the newness of unfamiliar content of the project in the early stages. Management needs to draw upon ways to deal with complex situations in order to deal with this potentially unsettling situation. It is important to establish what type of project we have in order to identify the management approach needed. Project types are defined by what must be accomplished and how it can be achieved. We can use these project types to draw from different management theories that can explain the approach, methods, and abilities needed for each project type.